Well, I always say our people have been here since time began. My name's Wonitji Webb, and I'm of the Pibulmun Wadandi people. And what it is, I was born in Busselton, but I lived in a little mai in the bush, me and my family. And then in '67, the government actually come along and told Mum and Dad, you'll have to civilise your children now. And so they moved us from there into little tin houses on a little piece of land that was given to build those houses. And then by the late '70s, I was gone by then. I was living my own life, but Mum and Dad and the younger ones moved into Busselton. But right up until into our 20s and stuff, we're still hunting and gathering on the country. So to be brought up all those years just collecting and living off country and getting told by the old grandfathers. You see, our old grandfathers, they come from the late 1800s, and they were still around when we were young fellas. So, and our great-grandmother, she was gone by then, but her brother, Uncle Wally, was still around, Uncle Wally Slee. So we still had all this connection through these old people telling us the stories right up until about 1970 when my grandfather died. He was born in 1901, but his two brothers who were a lot older than him from the 1800s. So all that knowledge is getting passed on to you. We're taken aside and taught about how the country works. That's why when we're talking about the rivers and stuff, well, that was their travel routes, the old people. So the connection to the country is reading the land and knowing exactly what's there and what not to take and what to take at certain times of the year. The bushes and stuff will tell you when you can take the possums, and other ones will tell you to go to the coast for fish and all the rest of it. So all these flowers and the birds are all telling you, like when the cockatoos fly, and they fly the coastline, we know the salmon are coming. But just before then, the little purple-crowned lorikeets are going up to Kwoorabup from down south here, going up to Kwoorabup, and that's the place of the purple-crowned lorikeet. So when he goes across the country first, we know the herring are going, and of course when the big cockatoos are coming, the salmon are chasing them. So everything's there to tell us what's happening on country. And we know that the stories about the Kwoorabup, the little parakeet, he flew up and got the stars, and he brought it back down for fire on the country. And so when you look at the balga stem going up and you see the little white flowers, they actually look like the stars. And then when they start dying off, the seed pod comes on, you have a look at the little seed pod and it looks like the beak of the Kwoorabup. So the Kwoorabup and the balga and the fire, everything goes hand in hand. So you tell these continuous stories about the sky down to the earth through the balga and these little birds that got the fire and stuff like that. So all these stories are just kept handed on. So that's your connection to the country, and being told from a little fella that's never been removed off the country how to read it, and that's your connection. Yeah, well, with the totem side, the family group is the kangaroo, the yonga, and we don't eat him unless someone else gives it to you from a different group, and then you can eat it. And also the coulter, the mullet. And so that's the two different groups down in Busselton area that I come from, but it carries right across the country. We can't come to another spot and catch the mullet and eat it, or we can't go and catch the kangaroo and eat it until someone else from that area actually gives it to us to eat. But my personal totem is the red-tailed cockatoo, the Kwoorabup. And what he is you're not allowed to do any law or ceremonies without the red-tailed cockatoo feathers down this way. Well, this country here, has sustained our people for thousands and thousands of years, over 2,000 generations. We've been living on this country and nurturing it and looking after it because we're only here for a short time. And this is a very special place because this is where the rivers actually come to from all across the country. And when I talked earlier about like the veins in your body, well, if you follow the main artery here, the Kwoorabup here, and you go out, all those little feeders all the way along is like the smaller veins feeding into the big one. And then it goes down to the heart. And the heart is down here, the inlet. So what affects it up the top and all the tributaries and into the bigger river system here, the Kwoorabup, it all ends up down there in the estuary system. And that's where all the food sources are down there, the fish and everything. But they need this river here to travel up and do their spawning and stuff, and then it heads back down in there into the inlet, and all the fish are breeding down there. So yeah, it's a big nursery, as well as life force. That's why all the reeds are going to stay on the side of the banks, because that's the filters and the paper barks and everything else. It's all filters trying to keep that fresh. So we've got to keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't get affected that much up the top, because when it finally gets down the bottom, it makes that sick. And once that inlet starts getting sick, well, you'll see the repercussions of the actions of what people have done. So we all nurture the land and work along with it, because like I said before, Mother Nature doesn't need us, but we need her. And if we don't look after her, well, we'll be in big trouble, because just the way things are happening now with global warming and all the rest of it. And if we can get everyone thinking that way, that everyone takes a totem on, a bird, an animal or something like that, and they take responsibility of looking after that flora and fauna, we'll be in a beautiful spot. And just nurturing the land and looking after them, because they're under that much threat now that we need to start standing up and doing something about it.